Hi everyone and welcome back to Roots Baking with Abby. Firstly, I absolutely owe you all an apology. It's been, I think, over a month since I last posted a video. I have been just really busy. I've been doing lots of great things, making lots of different cakes and biscuits, but just completely forgetting to film. So I'm going to try and make a promise to myself to try and post at least once a fortnight. I'd like to get to once a week, but I'm just going to try and film everything that I make. Even if I don't post it, just film it, and then I've got it in the background ready to go as and when it's time to post. So today we're going to be a little bit festive themed. I've been playing around with some ideas of trying to make a wreath cookie. I am going with my friend, the lovely Rosie Henshaw, going to a wreath making class in a couple of weeks for Christmas wreaths, and I wanted to supply some biscuits to the people that are organising it, and just thought it might be nice if I created a wreath biscuit. So we're going to give that a go. It's slightly complicated in as much as it's just about design and layout, but mostly it's quite simple as far as the shapes. It's just entirely up to you how you want to decorate your wreath. You can go as elaborate or as simple as you like, really. So let's get to it. So if you start with your silicone mat, just to help everything not stick, I'm just going to lightly dust my mat with some cornflour. Haven't got a lot left in there, I need to fill that up. So here I'm just going to use a white fondant as a base. This is just a store-bought, it's actually from Asda own brand fondant, still my favourite, can't beat it. The other branded fondants are nice, but there is, for me, no real difference, not noticeable enough. I'm warming that up with my hands just to make it a bit more soft and pliable. And now we're ready to roll. We're only going to make 2 today just for demonstration purposes. So don't need a huge amount of fondant. So you're going to need 2 circle cookie cutters, obviously one larger than the other. I'll press the larger one out first, give it a little twist just to loosen it away from the edges, but then leave that ring in place. Then take the smaller and just sort of line it up before you push down too hard, just to make sure you've got a relatively even circle all the way around. Then push down and again just give it a little twist just to loosen it away from the edges. And move on to the second one. So once you've removed both of your cutters, take away the excess, ball it up, and then just take away the middles from each one. And you're left with a nice white ring as a base for your wreath. Just going to wrap up my white fondant, stop it going dry. And what we need to do now is move on to making the leaves for our wreath. So here I'm just using a silicone mould. I bought this from the website Shein. I
think it was £1.75. It's got various different leaf shapes and sizes. We're going to use this one in the top corner. It's a nice size. I have tried a few of the others when I've practiced this before. This seems to be the right size and shape. So again, you can buy a green coloured fondant. Obviously it will come in different shades. You can buy whichever shade you like. I've chosen to colour my fondant myself just because I wanted a lighter shade, and in my local supermarket they only have like a green that's, I suppose, a bit frog-like rather than leaf-like, and I wanted this to be a bit paler. So I'm just, same with the white, just softening it up with my fingers. I've got warm hands, so just making it a bit more pliable. I just topped up my cornflour, and I'm just going to create a little pile just on the side there so I can dip my paintbrush in it to dust the inside of the silicone mould just so anything doesn't get stuck to it. I'm just using a flat brush here. You can use any paintbrush, it's just this is my dusting paintbrush that I use. So here I'm just working that right into everything, all the little tiny nooks and crannies, and just take a small amount of that green. The amount I've got there, like a little pea size, probably only going to need half of that for one leaf. Work it in my hands and then just push it into the mould. Work it into all the little crevices. Smooth it down, press it right in. Flatten off that back. Don't really want ridges, it makes it a little bit harder. You can see all of the little ridges are filled. And then just work it out of the mould. If I lift that up to the camera, you'll be able to see all the little details that are in that leaf. It's really pretty, really effective. And just start the process again. I don't dust every time. It doesn't always need it. I just dust every now and then. What I might find is sometimes if that fondant is, when I'm pushing it in, is then coming out again with my finger, I might dip my finger into the cornflour or icing sugar if you want to use that, and then it just stops my finger sticking so it stays in the mould. We're going to need, it takes around 20 leaves for each wreath. So I'm going to make, I think 40, 45, something like that, just to cover us. This can be a little bit time consuming, but once you get into a flow of it, it does go quite quickly. So I'm just going to finish off the last few leaves. You can see I think I've done about sort of 30, 35, 36, something like that. I'm just going to do the last few, and then we can start to decorate the wreaths. And now that is the last one. I think I've counted about 45 there. I think I'm right. Just put my silicone mold to one side. Work my little green fondant ball up and then pop it away in the bag, just so, again, so it doesn't get dry. Same as the white one. now I've just got myself a little cup of water, paintbrush, and we're going to start to decorate these wreaths. So we'll start with this one. Just make sure it doesn't sort of get misshapen when you're moving it around, and take your paintbrush and just lightly paint some water on. Don't do too much at one time, otherwise you'll get into a bit of a sticky mess. So I do enough maybe for 3-4 leaves, and just stick away. It becomes very tacky, you haven't really got to worry. It's very forgiving. You can move it around if you don't like the layout, or you don't like the angle at which you've put them. There obviously is a little time where it becomes too sticky and you can't really move it, but you've just got plenty of time. And just work your way around the rest of the wreath, sticking your leaves on. Adding a little bit of water as you go. So that's the last leaf on, and what you're left with is your basic wreath. You can now decorate this as elaborately or as simply as you like. You could leave this like this. It's so effective. It's so simple, but really, really pretty. Here, I'll hold it up to the camera. You can just see how lovely it looks. This would be a really impressive gift to give someone, or just to have yourself. Why not? And now we'll move on to the second one. We'll just do exactly the same. A little bit of water, adding a few leaves on at a time. So now that both wreaths are decorated, I've got a little selection of sprinkles. Here you can see some silver balls. I've got some white sprinkles here, which is a mixture of some snowflakes. I've got silver stars in there, and just some little silver crystals. I've got a little gold one here, which I think is bells and stars. Don't think I've got any crystals in that one. And then finally, a little red and green. It's got some candy canes, it's got some holly leaves and some holly berries. I bought these sprinkles from Home Bargains, all of them. They came in I think a mixed tub, little different sections, and I just popped them into my sprinkle jars. Makes it easier for me to organise and see what it is I want. I'm going to do a little bow at the top of each wreath. I think that you would have that if you had one hanging on the door. You'd normally put a bow on it. So the theory is exactly the same as with the leaf moulds. You just want to dust inside the bow and just get all the little nooks and crannies. Now here you can see there's lots of different bow shapes. I'm going to try both, see which one I prefer, and go from there. So work your white fondant just to make it nice and pliable. just so it fills those gaps nicely. You haven't got to work too hard at it. This is where getting in all those little nooks and crannies, especially when you've got something like a bow, it can be quite intricate, and it's deeper in places than it is others, so it's easier if you can dust. And here, just work away. If you haven't got enough, just take a little bit more off, work it in. Same if you put too much in, just pull it out, take it out, and keep pushing. So I've popped the fondant in both of those bow shapes, as you can see. I'm just going to work them loose a little at the side, make sure there's not too much overhang. Makes it easier for them to come out. Gently prise them out with your fingers. They don't need much, especially if you've dusted with the cornflour. That always helps. And here, if I lift these up, put them onto my hand, and you can see just how pretty these bows are. I think I like both of them actually, not more one than the other, so I think I'm just going to do a mixture of the bows. You can obviously do these in any colour you want. You could buy red fondant and just do a nice red bow. You could buy a deeper green, or you could darken if you're colouring your own fondant, you can darken it and make it a different shade of green so it stands out from the leaves that you've made. We're just going to stick all of our decorations on now with just a little bit of water. So here, use the paintbrush again. Just dab the water on a small amount. You don't need a lot. You don't want to make the fondant too sticky. It just takes, the more water you use, it takes longer to dry. Position that however you like. Press it down so it sits nicely. And there you have it. And here, really, it's entirely up to you how you want to decorate. You could use just one colour. You could use a mixture. You could do themed ones, just candy canes. You can, really, your possibilities are endless. I'm just going to use one of each of them just to give you an idea of the effect that you can get. And that's the finished product. You can see here I've got the bow at the top, I've got a little gold bell, I've used some of the silver balls, candy canes, the holly. It's really effective. So now it's time to pop them on our cookies. So here I've just got a small amount of some cookie dough that I had left over from a previous order. I got it out of the fridge this morning, brought it up to room temperature, and now I'm just working this with a little bit of flour underneath my silicone board. You need to take the larger ring, press down, remove the excess away, and there you have your basic cookie. I'm just using the no spread recipe from my previous videos. Taking up the excess and making biscuit number 2. And there you have it. I will pop those onto a baking tray, pop them into a preheated oven, 160 degrees fan, for about 10 minutes until they're a nice golden brown. Whilst my cookies are in the oven and baking away, I've made myself a coffee. I just wanted to talk through these rolling pins with you. I bought them from Amazon. I think they were $9.99 from what I can remember. I can pop a link into the description box for you to buy. These were a real game changer for me. I was really struggling with getting the right consistency in my levels of my height of my biscuits and my fondant. So I bought these rolling pins where they have sort of these plastic discs on the end, and they just work as guides essentially. I think there's 4 different attachments. They screw in. I think there's, I have 2 because it means I don't have to just swap the discs out. It's just me being lazy. I just grab the other attachments. I use the red attachment for my fondant, and I use the green attachment for my biscuits. So yeah, 4 different thicknesses. They are both imperial and metric. So they have the imperial on one side and the metric on the other. And you just decide which ring it is you want, slide it onto the little screw and pop the screw in at the end. And there you go. I really would recommend these. I now wouldn't go back to just a normal rolling pin. They've made a real difference to me, and certainly with lots of wastage, because some of my cookies were coming out thicker than others, which meant cooking time was obviously different. And the same with the fondant, obviously not with the cooking time, but it was different thicknesses, which just, when I was in that stage where I was practicing, it just threw off the balance of taste a little bit. Some of them were more sweeter because they had thicker fondant on and less biscuit to fondant ratio. You can see on the rolling pin, they've got little measurements, so you can see things for pastry, etc., like how wide you're rolling out to. It really is a great tool. Absolutely would recommend. So my biscuits are now out of the oven and cooled. You can see they're a nice golden brown at the edge. I have gone round the edge with some water just to make them a little tacky for us now to stick our wreaths on. So lift them up nice and gently and just slide them in the position that you want them to be. Same with the second one. You can see here I've decorated the second one with just the white snowflakes and the gold stars. Just a more simple design. The first one was just to show you the different types of sprinkles that we had and how far you could go with the decoration. For me personally, I think I like the more simple biscuit myself. I'll see if I can give you a little close-up. Don't like to handle them too much. I don't like until the fondant's really set on the biscuit. So here, I think this one's my favourite. And there you have it, your wreath themed biscuits. Great gift. Great for Christmas Day, for sort of place setting, something like that, something really different, an edible place setting. What a great idea. Here I'll show you what using it as a place setting actually looks like. I won't stick the name down because that's not what I'm going to make these for in this instance. But I've just used my letter stamp to create a name, made a nice shape, and popped it in the middle there. I think it's a really simple, effective way to do something really different for Christmas. Thanks for watching. Any questions, pop it in the comments and I'll answer any queries that you have. I hope you've enjoyed this recipe and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.